Peace and love, family. Welcome to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. I'm Brother Frank, and this is Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition platform, where we focus on political prisoners, what they have done, and why should we respect them as much as we do. This is Black History Month, and it's 2025, and we got to be very serious about how we honor our heroes, how we honor those who made sacrifices. Uh, you know, um, when we talk about our political prisoners, what are we involved with? What's the reason behind talking and being educated about them? It's very important that we do our part with raising awareness about them, so that the next generation who's following their footsteps know exactly why they're following them, and what's the significance, what's the importance of them being involved in our lives. Today's episode it's a little bit different because I just decided that I have to remain consistent in doing this work, and regardless of what's happening any and everywhere around me, I know that political prisoners must be recognized. They must be recognized because if we don't do it, who else will do it? One of the books that I have recently is this book right here. Please pardon the interruption on being able to see it on the screen because of the technology that I'm using. But it's called The Trials of Mumia Abu-Jamal. It's a biography in 25 voices, edited by Todd Stephen Burrows. The Trials of Mumia Abu-Jamal, biography in 25 voices. The reason I brought this book, obviously, because it's written by a political prisoner and it's involved. It has those who have been campaigning for Mumia Abu-Jamal's release for quite some time. They have them involved. There are a number of people that you might be familiar with and you might not, but it's very important to let you know that he has a strong campaign to advocating for his freedom. On the back, it says Angela Davis, Annette Skilfman, Betsy Colin Kaepernick, Daniel P. Blank, Dave Lindorf, uh, Dick Cluster, Gabe Bryant, Jaquise Lydier, Jamal Journal, Jennifer Black, Joe Davidson, Joanna Fernandez, Julia Wright, Kelly Harris, Kevin L. Clark, Lynn Washington Jr., Michael Skickman, Miranda Harenham Beach, Mumia Abu Jamal, Noel Ranhan, Pam Africa, Reginald Skell, Santiago Alvarez, Todd Stephen Burrows, Yane Indigo, Zayd Muhammad. Then it goes on to say, what brought movement legend Angela Davis and a score of radical activists into action in 2021 on very short notice to demand the only treatment is freedom. It was the reality the world left might lose one of its most prominent voices to COVID-19. That voice belongs to Mumia Abu Jamal, a former Black Panther and award-winning national public radio journalist who is arguably the world's most famous political prisoner. Convicted of murder in 1982 and the author of more than 10 books and 2,000 op-eds for print and radio broadcasts, Abu Jamal is easily the world's most famous contemporary prison writer. The Trials of Mumia Abu Jamal, a biography in 25 voices, is a collective evaluation of his life as told by those who know him best. His friends and allies, edited by Abu Jamal biographer Todd Stephen Burrows. It chronicles the struggles to get Abu Jamal the health care he needed in 2021, as well as his life of radical decolonized activism in the face of his monitoring by the Federal Bureau of Investigation's Counterintelligence Program, COINTELPRO, while a teenager, uh, Black Panther in Philadelphia, and later as an inmate, decades of extraordinary repression by the state of Pennsylvania. So that's just a description of what it's saying in the back. And at that time, the urgency of bringing him home so he wouldn't die in prison, because that affects all of us when our political prisoners die in prison. It means that we didn't do enough organizing. We wasn't consistent enough. We didn't fight hard enough to bring them home. And we thought that just doing what we were able to do at the time we were able to do it was enough. But obviously it wasn't, because the reality is, or was rather, that the political prisoner died in prison. This is a very important book. I have yet to read it in its totality, so I have to accept that criticism. But it's important that I bring something to the table to let those who are viewing, those who intend to share this piece, that there is a book that they should read. All of us should be reading and should be familiar with the cause of Mumia Abu Jamal's freedom, or rather his fight for to be free, and amongst us and continuing this fight. That's why whenever you hear about him on any platform, make it your business to give it a good listen, share it with as many people as possible, and do your job to raise awareness about him and the reason why we need to bring him home. Um, on another note, Ronald Reed, I finally wrote that letter back to Ronald Reed. I took my time. I went through all the contacts that I made. I'm working on a piece right now on another platform that's going to be dealing with a number of people coming together, those who want to be involved and talk about Ronald Reed. Ronald Reed he was a member of the Black United Front, and in the 60s he was organizing, he was fighting for our self-determination. Obviously that didn't sit well with the state, and the state chose to target him as somebody that needed to be got or stopped. And so they brought these questionable charges on him. He gave me extensive documentation of his case, about 27 pages. I scanned it and I sent it to a number of people. Some people have gotten back to me, and I'm working on doing what they said do as far as his situation. I gave him the numbers of people, the number of people who actually called me back and engaged in a conversation and wanted to inquire more information about him. So I say that to let you know that I'm just not here on this platform talking and encourage others to do this work. I'm challenging myself to do as much as I can with the time that I have. Obviously, we all struggling the same struggle for food, clothing, and shelter. But I make time for political prisoners, whether it's studying or preparing this podcast, preparing this episode to deal with the ideas of political prisoners, and the fact that it is our responsibility to take it seriously. We should have to look at our political prisoners as like a relative, because in fact they are, right? Because we're all in the same struggle, we're all in the same fight, and there's no difference between your political family and your biological family, because we have to really be honest with ourselves. How many of our biological family are involved in political affairs of our people? And that's something that we should work on getting as much as we can out of them. Obviously, everybody's not in the same position. What I mean by that is their level of consciousness doesn't drive them to the point where they're going to take some serious action. So we have to be patient, because as Kwame Ture said on a documentary, or rather a lecture that I seen, he said, you were not conscious at one point, and he gave an example about this brother talking about the red, black, and green flag, and he was talking to Kwame Ture about it, and Kwame Ture says, who gave you that flag? And then he's trying to find out where the brother got the information from, the knowledge from, and the brother said Marcus Garvey. And then he asked him about what does it stand for? And in their conversation going back and forth, it was something that the brother was not aware of. But the point was that he let the brother know about Marcus Garvey and his contribution to our cause. And the point was that the brother was not as knowledgeable as he was, but yet and still he knew something. And from that, he was able to move him into a direction, or rather advance his consciousness. And with that example, we have to do the same thing, right? We have to be patient with people, see what they're willing to do, see if they're willing to take up a task, and move them as far as we can to carry out the idea to the point where we get what we want, which is to bring our political prisoner home. right? Because everybody can't do everything, and everybody can't be everywhere. So if some people who could be at a particular place can take that task on, and others can do something else, then now we have a stronger force advocating for an idea, advocating for a political prisoner being home. Um, this platform is our media, and we have to cherish it as such. So I ask that whatever you can do to contribute to this media platform, I appreciate it. If you could share with 10 people, that's cool. If you could donate $1, that's cool. If you could donate more than $1, that's cool too. I know people struggling uh, financially all the time, right? Because of the way the society is. But you can cash at me at SEFUSANKOFA. That's $ SEFUSANKOFA. That's at Cash App. If you're interested in doing some work around organizing for political prisoners, please contact me at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-679-3936. Another thing too, February 15th, that's coming up this week, will be at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. It'll be Holla, How Our Lives Link All Together, and Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, NEPPC, and a number of organizations, including RAP. That we'll be having a visual, and it'll be outside of Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. So we're calling on you to join us, participate, get with us, and let's get together, and let's let those who are incarcerated know that they have people on the outside that's rooting for them, that want them to know that they have not been forgotten, because that's extremely important. And we have to do our job. We have to stand up, and we have to fight on our side, and we have to encourage those who are fighting on the inside to continue to fight. Because just think, if that was you, what would you want from those on the outside? Would you want to be be forgotten, or you want to be remembered? And if you want to be remembered, how is that memory being expressed? Are you getting enough letters? And if you are getting enough letters, what are the letters saying? Are people taking their time to really dig into themselves and try their best to dig into your mind and see how you can connect, how you can relate on certain matters? Because one of the things that I noticed when you're writing to a political prisoner, you understand how sharp their minds are, that they're actually doing some intense study, because in their lives they're dealing with distractions, obviously, but I think that they are forced to be more disciplined, because certain distractions could end very harshly for them, including the loss of their lives. Because just imagine the prison politics, the prison climate that's intense. So now you are being overly distracted, and now what can have been a small problem, it becomes a major problem, or something that can be resolved one way is going to have to get resolved another. So we have to really keep that in mind. So when we write into our political prisoners and they write us back, we have to understand that they have a very sharp analysis of what's happening, and they can contribute to how we need to deal with our problems now. Right, we're out here dealing with this current president. He's implementing his agenda, and we have to decide, what are we going to do? Which side are we going to be on? Are we going to be nonchalant? Are we going to be dormant? Are we going to be relaxed? Are we say, well, give them some time? Or are we going to commit ourselves to being organized? If we're honest with ourselves about how change occurs, then we'll be committed to being organized. We'll be fierce when it comes to being organized. We'll spend a whole lot more time or studying, researching, finding out who did what at what particular time. And that's why, the Black Panther Party's work is so important to us, because they had their own newsletter. They documented their work. They let us know that this is what you need to do to bring about the change that is beneficial to you and your people. You have to be extremely serious about this work. I remember reading about Fred Hampton, and also Kamal Siddiqui, formerly known as Freddie Hilton, how they would work out, and they would get their Black Panther a newspaper, and they had a regiment that they would do all the time, and that would be about either feeding the people or selling the newspaper. They knew that they had to take up that task, that the task was their lifestyle. They were professional revolutionaries, and they were committed to that. And they understood that that task is a task that is a heavy load, but it's a necessary load to carry if you want what's right for yourself and your people. Because you can't keep going around talking about you love your people, but you're not involved in anything. You're not organizing for your people. You just have some advice. You can provide some consultation to somebody who's already taken up the task, and might even have more tasks than they can actually handle. But yet they know that they have to continue to challenge themselves, continue to be resilient in this particular work, because that is what it is called for. That consistency, that focus, that understanding that, I can't pass this work on to another generation. So that is exactly the example, the model that the Black Panther Party gave us, an example of people who understood that there was something happening, and they had to be the people that were going to stand up against that. And when they did the task of fighting for our self-determination, it was one they took up after they took up intense study. I remember learning about Huey P. Newton and the fact that he studied law for 2 years before the formation of the Black Panther Party. I thought that was very interesting, because he did not want to get into a situation where he was uninformed. He wanted to know as much about the law as possible, so that he can give the best service to his people possible. And that is why I raise books usually when I come on this platform, to let you know that, we have to do the research. It's theory, practice, theory, and that theory is going to come through some political education. Find a good documentary that deals with the steps that people take. Find a good book that deals with the step that people take, and apply it in your everyday life. Decide that this is how you're going to proceed to do the work. It is what's necessary to make what needs to happen. This is something that I need to take up seriously. I just want to read the forward by Zaid Muhammad. Zaid Muhammad is a brother that I know, a brother that I've seen on a number of occasions dealing with the matters of political prisoners, and he is adamant about the release of our political prisoners. He lets you know that, if you ain't talking about political prisoners, you ain't talking about nothing. And that's on everything that you're dealing with, right? You're dealing with international matters. You're dealing with the case of reparations. You're dealing with sanctions on a particular country. You have to deal with political prisoners, and that has to be something that we cannot ignore, right? Because the minute we ignore it, the second we ignored it, then that political prisoner has less chances of coming home, and eventually dying in prison. All right. Obviously, that's what the state wants, but we share the position of Sunday Akoli that says the state don't free political prisoners, the people do. So the forward by Zaid Muhammad. This is for those whose eyes have not yet seen what we've seen. This is for those whose eyes have not seen what the rest of the world has seen. This is for those who still can't believe that the government and the state of Pennsylvania can actually be actively trying to eliminate a courageous descendant journalist. For those of you who believe that this government, that this country is not capable of that, think again. Nearly 100 years ago, they framed and killed two leftists, Italian immigrants, Sacco and Vanzetti. Shortly before that, they put another leftist unionist artist and activist before firing squad named Joe Hill. The same Joe Hill immortalized by the robust, barrel-chested baritone of Paul Robeson, who would find himself chained to his passport in the madness of the congressional fascist 50s of McCarthy. So, and then the brother goes on, Huey Newton and Angela Davis survived possible dates with the gas chambers in the modern era. But their lesser-known comrades, Ajamu Nasser and Zion Yisrael, were each executed in Mike Pence's Indiana in the 90s for surviving and defending themselves from an unannounced police attack on their homes. This is for those of you who had conveniently forgotten what you saw Pennsylvania state law put Mumia back in court in 1995 before Judge Albert Sabo, the same racist judge who took the point for his frame-up. You know, you saw Sabo deny every motion by Mumia's attorneys. You know, you saw him have a witness, Veronica Jones, arrested on the stand for coming forward to recant her coerced testimony in the trial that he oversaw. You know what you saw, but insisted to yourself that this was just too out of the ordinary to be believed. So these words, I have to cut this episode a little bit shorter than usual. So deepest apologies for that. But I'm here to remain consistent on this particular work. But just to give you a taste of this important book, those words from Zaid Muhammad, letting you know the reality of the situation as it pertains to Mumia Abu-Jamal. But Mumia is one of other political prisoners. We can't forget Ronald Reed. We can't forget Joy Powell. We can't forget any of them. Joseph Bowen. But come on out February 15th. It'll be in front of Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, and it'll be from the hours of 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. If you need any questions or you want to support on any level, please contact me at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-679-3936. Peace and love. Be safe in your travels, and don't let political prisoners die in prison.